Yes, I am the college football master because Quinn knows nothing besides if it's
Mm.
Penn State. And oh boy, another year, another controversy in the college football playoffs. It has been like that for years. In the olden days, it used to be just the top two teams played in the BCS National Championship. Then in 2014, it expanded to four. Then last year, it expanded to 12. Nothing seems to be good enough anymore because last year it used to be the conference champs were the top four, at least. Yeah, of the Power Five, four of them were in the top four. Now that's all gone. Now it's actually the top four teams. But the requirement is there has to be at least five Power Five conference champions in the top 12, which is a big deal because teams like Tulane and James Madison are in the
Whew.
playoffs that are good teams, but are in weak, kind of not famous conferences. James Madison is in the Sun Belt, Tulane's in the American. Meanwhile, it basically came down to Notre Dame and Miami for that final spot because Alabama got in, and that's a whole controversy in itself. But people knew it was coming down to Notre Dame, Miami. Miami is in, and Notre Dame, who was on a 10-game winning streak, is out because of the head-to-head week one. Miami did beat Notre Dame only by 3, but they did win, and the committee said that was the reason they had to put that into factor. But it's just a lot of just like, how are you actually determining these teams? Because they punish teams like BYU who got crushed in the Big 12 title, the Texas Tech. Yet Alabama, who got smacked by Georgia, college football's like, what? What game? I didn't see nothing. Alabama was already in beforehand. Nothing to worry about. And I understand the SEC's way more stacked than the Big 12, but still, Bama's 3 losses, just weird. And this just doesn't feel like the 12 best teams. It feels like the 10 best teams, and then here's 2 Cinderella stories just to make them feel included in the club. Like you're at the cool kids table now, and it's weird. And a big reason too why they were both in James Madison, Tulane, is because the ACC kind of sucked this year. I know as a Pitt fan, it was weak. Virginia could have made it, but lost to the championship game to Duke, who had 5 losses. There's people that are actually saying that Duke should have been in the playoffs. I don't agree with that. They lost 5 games. But Notre Dame on a 10-game win streak after starting 0-2 and losing to 2 playoff teams, Miami and Texas A&M, are still not in the playoffs. They have a Heisman candidate running back in Love. They got one of the best secondaries in the country, and they're out. And I hate Notre Dame, and I still think this is dumb. I think this is really dumb. Just have it be the 12 best teams. I think I think my man Rich Eisen, who Quinn and I think fondly of, is now on ESPN, had a great idea that we need to have an actual like playoff committee commissioner or something, like Nick Saban or someone to take over for it, and have teams that can qualify for the playoffs, and have a different type of league or playoffs for other teams, like a Tulane or James Madison or anybody else in the Sun Belt or America Conference that can't, because just the strength and the players are just better at the bigger conferences. And I agree with that. And that way it could be that just the 12 best teams competing for a championship. You cannot tell me Notre Dame is not one of the 12 best teams. You can argue that BYU still is. You could definitely argue that Vanderbilt is. Vanderbilt's got one of the best quarterbacks in the country that's also in the Heisman running. It's just so inconsistent. You can't please anybody. It could be a bit annoying to hear a bunch of complaining because Notre Dame declined to play in their bowl game. I think a couple other teams like Iowa State and Kansas State declined too, which I get people don't like that. They think like it's all unprofessional, cowardly, but considering how bowl games, Quinn, are useless now, how they're treating them like it's not a big deal, can you really blame Notre Dame? I mean, you can't blame them for feeling like they got robbed of a playoff spot. And I feel like, too, it's not even Miami getting it over them that's the issue. Miami's a great team. They got a great freshman running back. Carson Beck turned out to be a good move from the transfer portal to them. They're a solid team. I think it was more the Tulane, James Madison, and even Alabama argument, which it's like, why are these teams in over us? That's more the issue to me. Listen, maybe Tulane, James Madison, college football wants to make it like the NCAA tournament where it's like, oh, we get everybody from every conference. But the difference was there's 64 teams compared to 12. What do you want to do? Have it be 24 teams? Or do you want to have 62 football teams compete? I don't know if that's possible in a tournament. It just, all of this just makes no sense. And I know I'm ranting, but they need to fix it because this just doesn't feel like the 12 best teams. Like I said, it feels like the 10 best teams and then 2 participation trophies. And that's no disrespect to Tulane and James Madison. They are great teams, but they are not in good conferences. And they haven't really played anyone competitive. I look at their strength of schedule. Tulane's was the 77th, and James Madison's was the 123rd, while everybody else is kind of in the 20 to 50 range, or even 10 to 50 range. Like, it's not even close. It's not even a comparison. So, yeah, they need to fix it. They need to fix it bad. It still will be an exciting playoffs. Feels good to see Ohio State go down to Indiana. That was a shocking upset. We'll get to more of that in a little bit. But Quinn, as obvious as I say a billion times, you're not a college football guru, but you have any thoughts on Miami shockingly getting in and Notre Dame getting snubbed?
I hope that Tulane or James Madison goes far. So I think that would be hilarious to see all the Notre Dame people being like, ah, which I understand, but it would be funny to see one of those schools do well and be like, well, um, but yeah, I mean, it's college football is kind of complicated in the sense that there's a million teams, a million Division I schools, it feels like, and like I get it can be hard to figure that all out. And I understand kind of they're still trying to figure out how to set up the whole playoff thing and going through the growing pains. And so I mean, I would be surprised if this stayed around where they're like, yeah, we're gonna let two teams that are good, but like not like it almost feels like within Division I, there's divisions 1 through 3. You know, it feels like there's Division I, Division II, and III schools playing in the Division I championship. So I understand why people are angry and upset. Um, I mean, I know that Miami did beat Notre Dame earlier in the season, but I mean, and people are like, "Oh, it's all the way in the beginning of September." I mean, your win and losses are your wins and losses. Obviously, like I wouldn't like if the Eagles lost to the Cowboys week 1, but we still lost to the Cowboys week 1. A win's a win and a loss is a loss. You got to deal with that. And you lost to Miami, and now they're in. You're not. It's just how football works. If you hadn't noticed,
But I think this is why, as much as I like college football, why the NFL is, I don't want to say better, but kind of why me and Quinn, especially Quinn, prefers it, is there is no controversy. They have structure when it comes to the playoffs. It's literally you qualify or you're done. There's no controversy. The only controversy you'll ever hear is like some trash NFC South team having a home playoff game. People are like, oh, they don't deserve it. But that's not even that big of a controversy. When that's the
yeah,
worst you could get, that's not an issue at all. They did expand from 6 to 7 teams because, more games, more money, corporate
money,
greed, all
money,
that fun stuff. But it makes sense. There's structure, which
more
is rare to say.
football.
Which is rare
Yay!
to say about the NFL front office having structure, but they certainly have more than the NCAA. I also think one final point, the huge issue with Notre Dame getting snubbed, is pretty much the last like month of the season. They were ranked ahead of Miami by a decent margin, including last week. The committee had them ranked pretty far ahead of Miami. And then they're just like, oh wait, Miami's ahead of them now. I'm like, then what was the point? Like, is there any point of these rankings before the playoffs? It's almost like rankings, especially the week before the playoff one, is meaningless. It means nothing. There's
It's like when we
no
switch our
point to
power
it.
rankings. It's like, oh, whoops,
Exactly.
sorry, I meant
There's no
4 and
point.
3.
Literally, it's like when me and you accidentally say a team. It's like, oh, sorry, I meant to put Miami ahead of Notre Dame. Our bad, our bad. We forgot to do that. Like, huh? They beat them in week 1. Shouldn't they be ahead of them for most of the season? But no, it's flawed. And it needs fixed. We need Nick Saban's cranky ass to be the commissioner and save college football, apparently. But Quinn, that's enough yapping out of my mouth. Back to NFL stuff.